Welcome to One Insight. My name is Rich Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can actually be lonely. You can feel like more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything.
I'm calling this episode, Put Courage Over Comfort. In a moment, you're going to meet Stephanos. He's been working in the C-suite for years. Finance was his background, a high-level leader in the corporate world. Shifted into consulting and felt this desire to bring something to the consulting to take it to the next level. Got this insight that it was coaching, and a year ago, became one of the pioneers in transition excellence. So I share some of that story about his journey because it's so good sometimes to hear other people's journeys, because the problem with success is people start talking about their successes when they're here, and we don't hear about the journeys along the way. We share some of that story, and then I draw out a distinction for Stephanos around a new business plan that he's been applying his whole life that's going to take him to the next level. Welcome, Stephanos. I'm looking forward to talking to you. I want to give context to why you're here, and then I'll say hi properly. So you're a member of Transition Excellence. This is a community of high-level leaders that I've been working with for over a year now who are transitioning into becoming high-level coaches and consultants. Some of them already are. And it's my passion project. I've seen for years that we have an ability in my community and with my organization to help leaders really fly in this world of coaching and consulting. And you said yes to being in this community. You're here. And now I get to play with you on the podcast. So welcome.
Good to be here, Rich. Really good to be here and to have this face-to-face chat with you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And you shared a minute ago when we said hi before we started recording that you had an insight just in the preparation of getting ready for this. And since the podcast is called One Insight, tell me, I'm curious, what's the insight?
Yeah, great job, Rich. I started having insights before even the call. So it was yesterday preparing, and I just set some time aside to reflect and to gather my thoughts for today. And I was really thinking that what hit me while I was gathering my thoughts and looking at my past and the different transitions and changes that I've been going through in my life, in my career, is that last year, even before Transition Excellence and in the beginning when we started this, I was really in resistance to coaching. Even though I was into coaching and I was determined and I wanted to give it all out, I realized that I was resisting to it and resisting to promote it, resisting to promote myself, not knowing how to handle it. And it literally hit me yesterday because I've had also different developments in my consulting / coaching / hybrid services that I'm providing now. So it was really that realization and how I'm changing versus a year ago and how Transition Excellence helped me to understand that now that I'm embracing coaching as a professional coach, as a consultant, as another toolkit in my portfolio of services, it sort of hit me that I was so resistant to it last year versus now that I'm embracing it, how more holistic of a service that I'm providing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing the insight. And what I'm reading behind your words is you're really owning one of the distinctions I teach, which is that coaching is a tool, not a title. That's what I'm
Yes.
hearing you say. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. And to be honest, it took me a while to embrace that as well, because also growing up in the corporate world and always being a C-suite or board level executive in companies primarily backed by private equity,
Mm.
we always try to label things and to put a box onto things. And coach was another label, and I was like, am I a coach? Am I a consultant? I'm an advisor. And what you provided is a release mechanism, let's say, to include that in my package, not to be one or the other, but to include everything together and see how to package things.
I love it. Great distinction. Yeah, there's a lovely book title, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And so that ability of yours to put labels on things worked really well in finance. That was your field for a long time. In the C-suite, talking to private equity. Yep, you've got to put things in their box to know where they are, to know how to help them grow and scale and so on. And the next level for you is transcending that. You'll use it when you need to. You've got those tools, but you don't need to all the time. You don't have to fit into the boxes that other people want to put you into.
Yeah. And that was a big part of the work that we really did, and we're still doing in Transition Excellence, to manage that transition and to share stories with other people that are going through similar transitions from all over the globe. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for creating Transition Excellence, which I've been in it for more, than a year. It's been, almost a year, November of 2020. And it's, if I could characterize it as it's like a think tank / incubator for ideas / safe space for testing, and really testing ideas, testing products and services among the team. So really thank you for that. It's invaluable. So I was part of the first cohort, like you said, and now I'm part of the peer leaders, and I'm even more, let's say, eager and motivated to help other people join in and expand this experience.
I love that. We have a phrase in my organization. We say service is the best seat in the house. When you give, you get so much back. And so I'm really honored you've chosen to take on this role of peer leader in here. I've got no doubt the ways you're going to grow, you have no idea. And you've been a leader for a long time. You don't need to do this. You're choosing to do this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's by choice, and I'm doing it with all my heart. I feel like, I don't know, in the first call that we had with T Elite, I think I wrote a note, you're not charging enough for Transition Excellence.
That's right.
So I'm giving you some ideas here. I don't know how, if it's in the benefit of other people coming after us, but hey, I mean it.
Well, thanks. And again, when you talk about fees being raised, what that means is you're saying there's a value that I see here. And we get mixed up when we're talking about numbers. No, we pay for the value that we get. So I receive that. I'm grateful to you for that. Take me back in time. There was a moment, it must have been October or September last year, then a year or so before before now, just before you joined Transition Excellence. What was the reason you were hesitating or doubtful to say, I'm going to join?
Well, I had a little bit before that. A few years back before that, my introduction to coaching was I was going through a really intense merger. I was managing a merger, and I was really sort of out of sync. I literally felt like my body and mind were just out of sync, and I needed a solution. And a friend of mine introduced me to a brilliant coach, and I was introduced to coaching about 10 years ago. And I ended up being coached 3 years by this coach, and he did an excellent job. So then fast forward to about end of 2019, I had my consulting company for about 2 years, and I was doing great in consulting, finance, operations, and strategy. But at the end of that year, I felt like I was missing something. I was missing something in getting more value and creating more value for my customers. And I was always in these meetings one-to-one with business owners who are my clients. I'm like, what does this remind me? What does this remind me? I said, in the end, it reminds me of coaching. So I said, I need to look into this coaching thing more. So I went into a coaching school, and which was great. But that after 6-7 months of that, I felt like something was missing from that as well. And I had stumbled upon The Prosperous Coach during the summer of 2020. So I read that, and I'm like, who is this guy? I saw some videos, YouTube and all that, read articles. And then around the fall time, I saw Transition Excellence. And I'm like, I really need to get more serious about this and to understand more about it and to take it to a different level. So I was going through this journey of, consulting and questioning how I can be a better consultant, provide better service, get more value, give more value. And your approach really, I really synced with that, because your approach was it was like an art form. It was like a dance. I felt like it was something like you were really paying attention to detail and to getting the value out of every single word, literally from what, the clients, let's say, we're talking about. And I really resonated with the quality, the attention to the quality that you were giving to.
Thank you. That's fascinating feedback. One of the reasons I had to stop working with leaders in the corporate world is if I ever coached a leader, usually they'd want to leave corporate and go into another career. So that was your path. Come back to my question, though. That was great context for me of your journey. What was the reason you hesitated before you said yes? Was there a reason that had you hesitate?
To Transition Excellence?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was captured by your book and then by the videos. I hesitated. I don't know why I hesitated. It was just unknown. I knew I was going through another transition, and I understood the program would help me with that. At the same time, it struck me like it wasn't a typical coaching program. So I wasn't sure what I was getting into, let's say.
Yeah.
Which on one hand was interesting, because I'm always interested in and curious about a good challenge ahead of me. On the other hand, it wasn't that straightforward. So that was a bit of my dilemma.
Okay. That's good to know. By the way, it's a great question to ask any of your clients at any time. Hey, go back. There was a moment before we began working together, consulting client, coaching client, and you hesitated. You didn't just immediately, when we first spoke, go, here's a check. There was a moment when you had to question yourself, is it the right thing? And what you're looking for is the commonalities. There'll be individual stories, but what's the theme? Is it price? Is it the explanation that was given for what you do? Is there something else? Because it will give you clues about how to talk differently about what you do in the future. Because then in a future meeting with a client, you'll say, hey, one of the things I hear most common before someone signs up with me is that they have this doubt. So I wanted to check in. Is that true for you? Would you like me to address that immediately? So it's a great question to ask, gives you great feedback. So I'm always curious to ask that one. It's fascinating to know. And my sense is for you, you've been on this journey for quite a while, and you're a man who likes to take a risk. You're a man who thrives on a challenge. So even whilst a year ago, we didn't even know what we were creating. We didn't know how to talk about it in the world. That's what you were experiencing, but it didn't matter. You're a risk taker. And frankly, I love working with risk takers. So you were the person we were talking to. It's perfect.
And it was, I love the way that you present it. And it was something that the curiosity, I knew there was value in there, because you have a body of work that accompanies, whatever you do. So that is the value that is out there is immense. So it's the value obviously built, throughout the last 15 plus years. So you have such a strong brand that, you have sort of a vehicle that you can add on things like Transition Excellence and other programs that you're doing. So I knew there was value there, and I was more curious to understand how that value is created and what I can get out of it, obviously.
Well, and one of the things you've seen that how I play is actually I draw that out of you. You want to get value here? No, just read my book. You don't need to work with me. Read the stuff I write online. I write twice a week. I write long articles. You can go back 10 years and read my stuff. If you want to play with me and work with me, I draw that commitment out of you. I draw out a desire from you to step into leadership, to make things happen, a willingness to fail. I love that you called Transition Excellence an incubator, because it really is a place to really try stuff out, experiment, fall flat on your face, feel embarrassed, and realize you're surrounded by people doing the same kind of thing, experimenting.
And what you're describing is exactly what we're experiencing in Transition Excellence. The more you contribute, the more you get out of the program. It's not a typical program where, there's a syllabus, there's, you show up and you study, et cetera, et cetera. The more you play in the group, the more you get out of it, because the sum of all the parts in that is not 1 + 1 is 3, but multiplier of that. So, yeah.
Yes. Love that. So thanks for that context. It gives me background on you and your journey. Where next? And let me rephrase that into, how can I support you right now? Or what's going on for you that if I can give value to you in this moment, what would that be?
So it has to do also with the realization that I had yesterday, that where I was a year ago, 2 years ago, is very different where I am right now. And I'm sensing that I'm going to be in a very different place in a year from today. Mm-hmm. Because I'm constantly challenging myself, learning and experimenting with things that I like. And so I describe sort of consulting and coaching and the way that my services have been changing the last year, and more intensely the last 6 months. So before I was doing only consulting. Now I have also a few only coaching clients. And now I'm developing a hybrid product or service, which came, I don't want to say by accident, but it was sort of by accident and by experimentation. So a friend of mine introduced me to a business owner that.
Let me hold you for a second. Let me pull you out of the story for a second, because I almost got caught. It's interesting. I want to hear the story. At the same time, I don't always need the content. Context might tell us where to go. So let me just check in first. Come back to my question. How can I support you best? And then let me ask if I need more of that information.
The recognizing that I'm in transition is critical. And I think I'm recognizing it. So now it's a matter of, how do I feel more comfortable in this more comfortable? I'm never comfortable, by the way, but it's a matter of how do I manage this transition until I get to the next level? And the transition is, I'm developing hybrid products now, which I feel great about, but at the same time, sometimes it's unnerving. Sometimes I'm curious about it. Sometimes I'm afraid of it. So that's the stage where I am right now.
Okay, let me see if I've got that. My sense is you have this desire for comfort, for it to be comfortable, but at the same time, there's a part of you that immediately knows as you say those words that that's not your path. You've never been comfortable. And so you're kind of torn in the way you're asking the question, because I think you innately know as you start to articulate it what the answer really is. For me, it's an equation. Put courage over comfort. We think we want comfort, but comfort is lying on your sofa, eating a big bowl of Cheetos, overdosing on Netflix. We don't really want it. It's good once in a while, but we don't really want comfort. People like you and I, we want risk and a little bit of danger. We mitigate the risk, but that's excitement. And it's putting courage first. I mean, one of my business, we've got two business plans. They're both one line. One is meet fun and interesting people. But it dawned on me a few years ago that my latest business plan is 3 words: make shit up. I mean, that's all we're ever doing. The trouble is when something comes out in the world and it works, we have no idea that somebody made that up once. So we compare our little thing over here that's new with their thing over there that looks amazing. It was made up by one person, one day. Everything was. So make stuff up. Try out this hybrid model. Try out that language. Some people might like, I love the word hybrid. Some people might not like that word. It reminds them of a hybrid car and they're high-performance petrol heads, or they love electric cars. And so you'll play and you'll discover, in a year's time, still use the hybrid model, never use that word anymore. You'll discover, that model didn't work, but here's what I am doing, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. You might discover, that language really resonates with my people, and it's called the hybrid program. Keep making stuff up.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, the idea of making things up, because one of the biggest excitements is, to think of a service and then put it out in the world and selling it. And I'm like, wow, that did not even exist a week ago, and now I just made it up and it's selling, which is it just blows my mind whenever I do that, and it's so exciting.
Isn't it fun? I mean, I told you this morning because we had a Transition Excellence call.
Yeah.
I want to do something in Dubai because I'm going to be in Dubai this December. So I made up an event which allows me to teach for 1 or 2 days in Dubai and do some virtual teaching either end. I made this thing up that didn't exist 3 days ago. Yeah. We're always making stuff up. That's how it works. So the solution, make stuff up, keep putting courage over comfort. You'll never know what will work out. Some stuff that you think is amazing, you'll hear crickets. And something is just an experiment you put out there one day and you discover that's your new business model.
I love the courage over comfort.
Yeah.
And like you said, I was never really a comfort kind of guy. I was always, transitioning from one challenge to the next as my curiosity was guiding me.
That's great. There's your business plan. One challenge to the next. That's it. That's all the business plan you need. Because it's the way you've been living your life forever.
Yeah.
So while you write, I'm going to say, I think we're there. I think this is one of those insight moments where we could try and turn this into 17 next steps along the plan, but it's not fun for me. It's not how I like to play, because when I work with leaders like you don't need the plan. The insight is what changes everything. And then we'd come back and speak in a couple of weeks and you go, I tried this, I tried that. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. Now we've got somewhere to play. So I think we're there.
I believe we're there. Thank you, Rich. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Stephanos. Thanks for playing with me. And thanks for being a leader in the Transition Excellence community. I really honor you for that.
Thanks. It's my pleasure and honor to be part of the team.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching. It was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.